The NFL season kicks off in a couple weeks, and the NFL continues to grow overseas. But did you guys know it's kind of like a big deal out in Ireland? Well, I got two special guests joining me today, Brian O'Leary and Colum Cronin of the NFL Irish Show, to give us their picks, their predictions for this NFL season. Gentlemen, what time is it there, fellas?
7 o'clock in the evening, Brandon. Still early enough. Still, and never too early or never too late to talk NFL with you guys.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys for joining us. And yeah, 7 p.m. because I imagine what time the games come on over there. But I'll ask you that at the end. What's it like, watching these NFL games? But I'm gonna start off with the question. Everybody pretty much has the same Super Bowl picks, but I'm gonna ask you guys, who are your top three teams heading into this season? And I see a smile on your face, Colum.
Yeah, I can see why everybody says the same thing right now. It's difficult to look past. You got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. For me, as long as those two guys are there, the Chiefs are always going to be favorites. You got Joe Burrow, and I know the New York audience isn't going to like this, but even without the two coordinators, you got Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. That roster, Brandon, it's really impressive. Right now, they start. I think we'll have some surprises, but those are my top three right now.
All right, if you get added by Giants fans with a little hate tweets, you brought that on yourself, my man. What about you, Brian?
Unfortunately, I have to agree with Colum in terms of, I suppose, putting the Eagles up there as one of the teams you would expect to be really challenging to go back to the Super Bowl. I know they've lost a number of players defensively from the team that went all the way last year and the coordinators, but still, the main players are there, the likes of Jalen Hurts, and a really strong, aggressive offense. And you would imagine the new coordinators will quickly transition into what they want in terms of their involvement on offense and defense. I got the 49ers in there. I felt that championship game was very one-sided for one particular reason. That was the quarterback situation. I think this year we're going to see Brock Purdy throughout the course of a full season. We're going to see the Christian McCaffrey train come as well for a full season. Kittle was injured early on last season. We might see him for a full proper season. And obviously they've brought in the likes of Javon Hargrave from the Eagles. So again, that's my second team in the NFC. And then I would, again, AFC, you can't get past the Chiefs. Colum is right. Yeah, it's when you've got Andy Reid and you've got Patrick Mahomes, it's very hard to see past them. But they're the three that I have up there as the top three right now going into the season.
Well, I love your 49ers pick. I think Brock Purdy kind of came in and just took the league by storm with what he did. When it comes to the Chiefs, though, fellas, Justin Ross just got injured. Kadarius Toney got hurt. I know Kelsey is the TE1 and wide receiver 1, but I'm anxious to see Pat Mahomes make a receiver again. But with the hair, he probably can. So I'm going to ask you guys now, who are your top overrated teams going into the season?
I haven't bought into the Lions, Brandon. I know everybody's very keen on them to win the NFC North. They're favourites. The Vikings had a great season last year. People are putting them up there. I'm going to hold fire on that one. I have reservations on them. I just think we'll see, again, a kind of a similar format. A lot of high-scoring games, and I think inevitably they might come out on the wrong end of a number of them. I still think the Vikings should be rightly favourites for that division. I've got the Cowboys in there. I'm not sold on the Cowboys. I think it'd be very interesting to see the transition with Kellen Moore moving on, and Mike McCarthy seems to want to run an offense very, I suppose, run-orientated. Is Pollard going to be fully fit from the injury to kind of be the bell cow? I'm not sure on that. I think we might see a drop-off from the Cowboys. And the Chargers, they haven't won the off-season this year. They normally do, and I'm not convinced, despite everything they've done in terms of trying to improve the offense around Justin Herbert, that I just feel the Chargers will find ways to do Chargers things and lose games they should win. And I think we might see them being one of the teams that don't make the playoffs this year, haven't been in the playoffs last January.
What about you, Colum?
Well, while you mentioned that, some New York fans might be too happy with me bigging up the Eagles, I think I would agree with Brian. I think the Cowboys, I don't see it. I don't think they scare people. The wide receiver room, that tight end room doesn't scare anybody. The other ones for me, the Dolphins. I know there's a lot of hype about them, especially given the head coach and with Vic Fangio in there now. But I don't know. Will Tua play the full season? And Vic Fangio, he's the man who brought in the too high system, but he's never managed to beat Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles brought him in last year around the Super Bowl. It was a huge issue. And to me, the other one is the Patriots. Bill Belichick is a legendary coach, but really when you're bringing Zeke in, and that's kind of your big free agency acquisition, I don't have faith in Mac Jones or Zeke to lead the Patriots in a stacked AFC.
I keep telling people that Bill Belichick is on the hot seat, and they're calling me crazy. But thank you for justifying that. All right, real quick, pick one. Colum, you started off your sleepers. Who's that sleeper team that's going to come through and shock the world?
I'm going to say, and if it's picking one, I'm going to say the Packers. I think there's been too much noise around that organization with Aaron Rodgers for the past couple of years, Brandon. He's wanted out. He almost went to Denver 2 years ago. There's just the vibes have been off in that building. I think with him out of the way, I think they've got a very smart head coach. They've got a really solid roster. And I would agree with Brian. I don't think the North is as stacked as maybe people think. So I think the Packers could be very competitive. I'm not saying they'll win the Super Bowl, but I think they're going to be a lot more competitive than people are expecting. Yeah,
I'm big on Jordan Love. What about yourself, Brian?
My first team in the NFC would be the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr coming in is a nice acquisition in terms of coming in to be the quarterback there. They brought in Jamal Williams, running back from the Lions, with 17 touchdowns last year. I think he can hit the ground running, and in an NFC South, which you could argue is wide open going into the season, I'm sure there's merits as to how all four teams could win the division. And I think if the Saints get into the playoffs again as a home team, I think they're dangerous in the Dome, and I could see the Saints making noise if they make the playoffs. But I certainly think they're going to be up there challenging to win the South this year.
How great of a story would that be for Derek Carr to leave the Raiders, which he's been there 9 years, and give him the big by taking the Saints to the playoffs and possibly the Super Bowl. So we got you guys sleepers, we got your top teams, you got your overrated teams. Now we want to talk about you guys about the NFL and how it's growing over there in Europe, specifically in Ireland. What changes have you seen with Irish fans, and how much has the NFL just grown over there as a brand, as a product, since they started playing over in Europe?
Huge changes, Brandon. I think you're talking about, from where the game was to where it is now. We've also got, with those international home marketing agreements, the Jaguars and the Steelers both signed agreements for Ireland this year. We are a week away from, I know it's a college game, but Notre Dame versus Navy. The interest in the sport as a whole is growing. Flag football is massively growing as well across the island. Just the awareness of the sport, and social media has played a role. You've got the watch parties, you've got teams, all the different teams. The Giants have a huge following here. The Jets do, the Patriots, the Steelers. Those guys are all getting together, and what we're seeing is more and more watch parties. I know the 49ers are doing one early on in the season. I know that the Giants fans are. I know that the Broncos fans are. So yeah, it is growing and growing, and the interest. I mean, I have no doubt that I think within the next decade, you're going to see a regular season game in Dublin.
What about you, Brian? Real quick.
Yeah, I suppose Colum touched on the social media aspect, but also the TV coverage is second to none here.
Okay.
15, 16 years ago, you had one game a week. Now at the weekend, you've got all the games: Thursday night, Sunday night football, Monday night football, Red Zone for 7 hours. I mean, you can't ask for more. And then obviously the NFL International Game Pass coverage as well. All the subscriptions that come with that. NFL Network 24/7. We have Good Morning Football every day at midday, our local time here. The coverage is second to none. You don't necessarily have to be living in the US to have access to every piece of NFL coverage, no matter what team you support.
Well, you guys got to give me information on that Giants watch party, because I will be down to come over there and watch it. It won't even be past my bedtime watching those games over there, especially with you guys, man. Thank you guys for having me on the show when the Giants came over and played the Packers, and thanks for coming on here, and we'll chat with you guys definitely during the season.
Thanks, Brandon.
Take it easy.
Thank you, Brandon.